You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Same old story for the Los Angeles Angels in 2024, home field disadvantage. I'm going to have to patent it at this point as the Angels fall to 0-2 at home in this series, now 6-18 at home in a 4-3 loss to the Cleveland Guardians. Jose Soriano with a mixed start, not awful, and this game was really just decided in one inning. All 7 runs in this game coming in the third inning. Of course, 4 from the Guardians. The Angels had a response with 3 in the bottom of the third. Taylor Ward, 3-run shot, but nothing else from the offense in a less disappointing loss than yesterday, but still disappointing loss. Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live from the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel, and of course, after the fact, both on the channel or in podcast format, wherever you get your podcasts on the Locked On Angels podcast feed. As always, shout out to Daniel coming in right when I go live every single time. And I want to give a quick shout out to all of you because yesterday's postcast did amazing. Look, today is only the 4th ever Locked On Angels postcast. Yesterday, last time I checked, we're almost at 700 views on that one, over 1,000 in podcast form, in listens. So really shout out to all of you for the support. I know I was pretty heated in yesterday's postcast because of how disgraceful that performance was, but a little bit better, not good enough, and hopefully we can keep the postcast growing here on Locked On. So shout out to all of you. Make sure to leave a like. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, let me know how I'm doing. Let me know what you want me to do on these podcasts to improve them, to make them more likable for you guys. And as always, follow me on Twitter/X at Gavin Carlson _ to let me know there as well. On today's show, we will discuss the Halos comeback falling short. Jose Soriano with a mixed start, all 4 runs in that third inning. A quick question. Are the Angels too aggressive on the bases? 2 times caught stealing. Rengifo caught out trying to stretch another hit again, second straight time. We will discuss that. And also, seriously, at this point, what is going wrong at home? Is there something wrong with this team that is making them so much worse at home? Once again, 6-18 at home, still 500 on the road. We'll also discuss some comments from Ron Washington about that and other stuff from before the game. And also Mike Trout was on the Angels TV broadcast talking about the Halos in 2024. So we will discuss all of that on today's postcast. But before we do, a quick shout out to today's sponsor. Once again, it is FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And now we will get started discussing this one. And you got to start in the third inning because that's when all the action happened. Like I said, all 7 runs in this one coming in the third inning. And I will start by saying in the first 2 innings, Jose Soriano looked very solid. Ron Washington talked about it before the game. He said, look, this guy, of course, is so young, so inexperienced, especially as a starting pitcher. All I want from him to keep the success going is to keep throwing strikes. He said he felt like Soriano's been sort of falling off in starts, which is expected when you make that transition that he has. But keep throwing strikes. You have some of the most electric stuff. Saw some kind of crazy comments. I think it was Mickey Moniak said that Jose Soriano is a top 3 starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. Let's not get ahead of ourselves there. But certainly some electric stuff. You know me, I was on Baseball Savant, as always. Love that place. Looking at some of the stats on Soriano. And it's no secret he has been very good in 2024. Sure, the record not great, 2-4 coming into this one with a 3.17 ERA, but electric stuff. And if you look at the advanced stats in the 73rd, 68th, and 87th percentile in pitching run value, fastball run value, and breaking run value. If you don't know what the heck that means, basically he's very much above average when it comes to saving runs with his pitches. in the top percentile in terms of velo. We know that. I think they said he is second to Paul Skeens in terms of average velocity on that fastball. We know he's going to rely on that sinker, that curveball. We saw a lot of that again today. And just night and day between him and Patrick Sandoval. I know they both did not have great outings. I know Sandoval's outing yesterday was really, really, really bad. So maybe it's not fair to him to compare these two. But not only the outcome, just the vibes from Soriano, so different. He looks more comfortable than Patrick Sandoval on the mound, which should not be the case based on experience, based on expectations. But a very solid start for Soriano. He 1, 2, 3 in just 10 pitches in the first inning, really getting it, just throwing strikes. And when you have electric stuff, you have that sinker, maybe you make contact, but it's very hard to square it up. And in the first 2 innings, Soriano kind of just ran through the Guardians lineup. I mean, certainly, once again, we talked about it yesterday. The Guardians are a very scrappy team with a couple solid hitters in Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor. But, it's great to see Soriano mow through them in the first and second. Then we get to the third, and that, Cardinal sin, leadoff walk. You just know when that happens that something bad is going to happen. And Soriano walks Estevan Florial to start the inning. He gets Bo Naylor called on strikes on a kind of nasty pitch on the inside corner, not really where Logan O'Hoppe wanted it, but hey, you'll take the call at third strike. And unlike Patrick Sandoval yesterday, Soriano's not shaking his head when he gets a call at third strike on maybe a missed location. But then after the strikeout, Rocchio singles. Now you've got 2 runners on with just 1 out, and Tyler Freeman lines one into center field. Mickey Moniak, not a great arm, and he certainly didn't even threaten Florial on that one at home. Really no play at the plate, and the Guardians jump up 1-0. Now, as always, the question with Soriano, with any Angels pitcher, with any inexperienced player, which is all the Angels really have for the most part, especially right now, the question is, how do you respond to adversity? Especially at home. The boo birds are going to come out if you fall behind. And the question is, how would Soriano respond to giving up that first run? And at first, it looked good. He strikes out Jimenez, gets him swinging, 3 strikes, leads off with a knuckle curve, kind of, changing things up there, then throws the sinker, and then the four seam way out of the zone, and Jimenez swings through it. That's what happens when you have electric stuff. But then more chaos and kind of deja vu like yesterday's game. Sandoval gives up an early run, and then there's a fluky wild pitch where maybe Logan O'Hoppe should have caught it. I think he got crossed up maybe. Ball didn't even really bounce before it got to his glove yesterday. Wild pitch, pass ball, whatever you consider it, gives up a run. Similar stuff happens here on maybe even more fluky play as Soriano throws one in the dirt. O'Hoppe blocks it. The ball goes out to the mound, and the runner scores. But the key thing here is that it should have been strike 3. No questions asked. It should have been strike 3 on Jose Ramirez. A great pitch, a pitch in the dirt. I'm looking at MLB Game Day to look at the pitch. It was in the dirt. It was I'm trying to find it here. I can't find it actually, but it was in the dirt, off-speed pitch. Should have been strike 3. It's not called strike 3 on the check swing for whatever reason. The replay clearly shows the bat goes through. Should have been strike 3. And then Soriano doesn't really react the best, to be honest. Maybe he thought it was strike 3. Maybe he thought it should have been a check swing strike, which it probably should have. But nonetheless, you would love to see your pitcher go after the ball. O'Hoppe's kind of then put in a tough situation. Do I go get the ball, or do I, stay at home ready for the tag? He ends up having to go get it. The run scores. And then that puts it to 2-0, and then Jose Ramirez continues to destroy the Angels in this series. His 3rd home run. Here, another 2-run shot. Not really crushed or anything. He hit it down the line, 365. Joe Adell tried to make a play on it. Tough play. Don't really expect someone to make that. Maybe it would have been nice if he could have made the play. We've seen Joe Adell rob home runs in the past, but he's not able to get to that one. A weird at-bat for Soriano against Jose Ramirez. Unlucky, bad call, should have been strike 3. It costed the Angels 2 runs and maybe costed them the game because in the bottom of the 3rd inning, the Angels get 3 back. And so it's really disappointing that probably should have still just been 2-0, and a 3-run home run from Taylor Ward that I will discuss in a second would have been enough to win this game. So obviously very disappointing with how that one resulted. But shout out to Soriano for kind of locking in after that. Very easily could have unraveled, just like Patrick Sandoval yesterday. An unlucky thing with at home plate could have unraveled when he came out in the, not only getting out of the third inning, but going into the fourth could have unraveled. Going into the fifth could have unraveled, and he did not. I think a leadoff hit in the fourth inning was the only hit the Guardians had against Soriano for the rest of this one. That's right. Brennan had a single in the top of the fourth inning, and then 1-2-3. And then in the fifth inning, 1-2-3. And then in the sixth inning, 1-2-3. Then Soriano comes out. Hunter Strickland looked good. Luis Garcia looked okay. Obviously, they locked things down other than that third inning. So once again, Soriano, mixed start. The expectations there, I would say satisfying. Of course, not perfect, but you like the resilience. And this was really a game I wanted the Angels to win. Of course, I want them to win every game like you guys do. But just the way they played, because of the way they came back in the bottom of the third, despite a leadoff ground out from Zach Neto, Kyron Paris walks, Nolan Shanuel lines out, but then Rengifo doubles. And we will talk about the base passes, the running on the bases later in this one, because this was kind of a weird one. Rengifo doubles. Kyron Paris goes to third. Florio in left field kind of double clutches at third, takes a while to get it to second, and Rengifo kind of backdoor sneaks into second base. I don't want to say lucky, but when I saw it, I was like, whew, that could have been really, really bad. Luckily, he does not get thrown out, and this is a perfect example of why you can't be too aggressive on the bases. You never know what's going to happen in the next at-bat, and Taylor Ward crushes a 3-run home run, 102 exit velo, just 386, so maybe crushes is a little aggressive, but thank goodness Rengifo does not get thrown out at second, or else that's only a 2-run home run. Instead, it's a 3-run home run, and, well, not only that, actually, if Rengifo gets thrown out, the inning's over, obviously, so just adding to the craziness of that decision. It worked out for him there, and it works out for the Angels as Taylor Ward makes up for some recent struggles, both in the field and running last night into an out. He makes up for it with a 3-run home run. But once again, that's all the Angels had in this one. BB, a solid pitcher, not amazing, not awful. Came into this one 2-1 with a 3.86 ERA. And really good with the off speed, with the breaking pitch. So not enough for the Angels offense. We will discuss why they left some runs on the bases after we take a break, because it's very easy to look at this box score and say, all right, just stuff happened in the third inning. There was a ninth inning late rally attempt from the Angels, and that was all she wrote. But there was moments in this game where the Angels were too aggressive on the bases, and it came back to haunt them. So we are going to take our first break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. Shout out to the people that are watching live. Shout out to everybody who will watch after the fact. Once again, really excited with how things went yesterday, not with the game, of course, but with the support you all showed on that video. Let's keep that energy going. Let's keep building this community here. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will discuss the Angels being too aggressive on the bases and whether or not that really costed them in a close 4-3 loss to fall to 6-18 at home. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Today's episode is once again brought to you by Ibotta. Spring has sprung, and that means spring cleaning. Whether that means stocking up on cleaning supplies or swapping out your winter clothes for new spring clothes, make sure you're using Ibotta and get real cash back with every purchase. Look, Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys and more. So you can make sure you're beating inflation, and yes, you want to beat inflation right now, no matter what you're purchasing. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back. Once again, using code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA Ibotta in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Today's episode is also brought to you once again by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Look, supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every time. Gosh, that is huge. Talk to a real person, every single time. And look, pros in skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. We are back here live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel on the Locked On Angels Postcast as our beloved Halos fall 4-3 at home to fall to 6-18 at home. We will discuss what is going wrong at home, try to make sense of it, because it's just so weird. Ron Washington said he couldn't explain it. We'll get to that later. But next, right now, I want to discuss, are the Angels too aggressive on the bases? Look, coming into 2024, we were promised a few things from Ron Washington. We were promised good fundamental baseball, more bunts, more steals, more aggressiveness on the bases. The Angels have an athletic team, a lot of young guys that can run. But is it getting a little too much? Because here in this one, the Angels only scored 3 runs. It comes in the 3rd inning. I already discussed how they maybe dodged a bullet and even getting the 3-run home run from Taylor Ward, because Luis Rengifo could have easily gotten thrown out at second base trying to stretch that one. And really, I get it. You want to get into scoring position, but there's already a runner in front of you. Just calm down. He got lucky he didn't get thrown out. But later in this one, he did get thrown out, and we will discuss that. But not only was it that, it was getting caught stealing twice and maybe ruining some rallies here in the bottom of the 4th, right after that nice 3rd inning. Maybe you've got BB, the pitcher for the Guardians, on his toes. And sure, Logan O'Hoppe grounds out to start the inning. And sure, Joe Adell reaches on a throwing error from Jose Ramirez. But you got a runner on base with 1 out. Joe Adell, obviously an athlete. He tries to steal second. Bo Naylor throws him out. Relatively easy. Pretty solid play by the shortstop, Rocchio, because that one was not a good throw. He had to make a tough scoop. But he made the scoop. He made the tag. And the reason it hurts is, like I'm going to keep saying it. This is me saying it again, I think, on the 3rd straight postcast. I'm not going to be a Monday morning quarterback. You're going to hear me say that maybe every single postcast. In the moment, did I hate the decision? Maybe not. Adell is athletic. 1 out, runner on first is kind of a reasonable situation to steal. But you just think maybe because the pitcher just got roughed up in the previous inning, maybe you don't want to give him any, chances, give him any gifts, and let the hitting do the talking. And surely enough, after Adell gets caught stealing, what do we have? We have a single from Mickey Moniak and a double from Zach Neto. You have a single and a double with 2 outs when there was already a runner on base, and you don't get any runs out of it because, of course, Adell gets caught stealing. That hurts. That really, really hurts for a lineup that is not going to, shock anybody by having 13 hits in a game. You're not going to have many games like the Houston game where there's home runs going everywhere. There was an interesting stat that the Angels do lead the MLB with 42 games with the home run. They made it 43 to keep that lead over the Yankees, I believe, who, by the way, are playing unbelievable baseball. But, like I'm saying, the aggressiveness on the base paths really killed the Angels here in this inning, because you have 2 hits that, of course, would have scored Adell from first, and would have tied the ball game at 4. So, of course, in hindsight, it's really easy for me to say that cost the game. I keep saying cost the game for the Angels, but in a way it did. And matters were only made worse in the bottom of the 5th inning. The next inning, you get a leadoff single, from Nolan Shanuel, and Luis Rengifo singles, but Nolan Shanuel gets thrown out at 3rd. That hurts. That really, really hurts. But there was more, because then I'm looking for it. I can't even remember what inning it was, but the Angels get caught stealing again. And there was also Rengifo getting thrown out at 2nd, trying to stretch a single into a double, really at an unnecessary time. So Excuse me. I messed up there. I said Soriano got thrown out at third. What happened was Rengifo got thrown out at second. That's what I was discussing in the bottom of the fifth. So you had back-to-back innings. The fourth inning, let's try to not confuse anybody. The fourth inning, Joe Adell gets thrown out and costs maybe a run. And then in the fifth inning, Shanuel singles, and Rengifo tries to do the same thing that he did in the third and got away with, where the runner ahead of him goes to third, and he tries to catch the left fielder sleeping and get into second. This time it did not work out. Like I said, very easily could not have worked out in the third inning when he got lucky and got in there, but this time it wasn't even close. He tried a swim move, and it didn't work. He got thrown out at second. So apologies for the confusion there. Hope I cleared that up. But yes, aggressiveness on the base paths cost the Angels because they could have had a run in the fourth. If Adell doesn't get thrown out stealing, they could have had a run in the fifth. If it's it could easily have been first and third with the back-to-back hits from Shanuel and Rengifo. If on that single from Rengifo, he stays at first base, you got runners on the corners with nobody out, and that's like a guaranteed run. I don't even want to know the probability of that. Even for the Angels, who struggle with runners in scoring position, runners on the corners and no outs is a dream. Instead, Rengifo gets thrown out at second. Now there's one out, and now there's a lot more pressure on Taylor Ward, and surely enough, he strikes out to ruin the sac fly opportunity, and then Willie Calhoun strikes out to end the inning. So there should have been a run in the fifth inning, and there really should have been a run in the fourth. And for that reason, I don't think it's crazy to say that the Angels were too aggressive on the bases in this one. I know it's what Ron Washington told us we were going to get, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Of course, the Angels, they can't win at home, and we will discuss it after we take another quick break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. When we come back from the break, we will discuss what is going wrong at home, trying to make sense of it. Because like I said, the Angels are now 12 games under 500 at home, despite being 500 on the road. Is it something to do with the way the Angels are preparing? Is it something to do with the way the in-game adjustments are being made at home versus on the road? Is it just a coincidence? We will discuss, and we will also talk about comments from Ron Washington, both about that, comments from Mike Trout as well, about the state of the Angels in 2024. We will take a quick break and discuss all of that on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Once again, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Look, it's winner take all time in both the NBA and NHL with the playoffs underway, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Look, FanDuel is the place to go if you want to bet on sports, and I am a huge advocate of whether it's fantasy sports or betting on sports. Of course, responsibly. Please be responsible, but it's a great way to make an already fun time watching sports even more fun. And FanDuel is the best place to bet on sports because they have really great promos and great lines like this. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's really, really nice. Once again, that's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player pops, and more. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count for the NBA and for the NHL, but also to bet on baseball as well, because why not? Once again, FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We are here live once again on the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live from the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. Once again, shout out to everybody that is here. I see some comments here. I don't even want to know how to say that name, but a bullpen of Joyce, Bachman, Armstrong, Krause, Daryl Hicks would be fire. Hopefully Stefanik comes up. We need the offense. There's some comments there. Shout out once again to Daniel, who keeps coming back. Happy Saturday, everybody. You know, it sucks when it's the weekend and you want to see your team win and they come home after a great 4-2 road trip and you really think this team can start building something. It's no secret the AL West is terrible. There was a moment after that road trip where the Angels were a couple wins away from jumping into third in the division, despite being well under 500 because of how bad the AL West is. And so you come home after a nice 4-2 road trip, after a 4-2 start in the AL West. Really great opportunity for a young team to start getting some experience winning. But I guess the kryptonite for the Angels in 2024 is home sweet home. And I'm going to start trying to make sense of it because it doesn't make sense why the Angels are so bad at home, 6-18 at the Big A. And we actually got some comments from Ron Washington about this. Obviously, you got to ask him at this point, what is going on with your Angels? And it's funny, what's the comment from Ron Washington? I wish I knew. Yeah, we all wish we knew. He put out some theories. He said maybe it's trying to impress the home crowd. He said maybe it's the way he said maybe they're sleeping better on the road. I don't know if that implies that at home you're with your friends, your family, there's more distractions when it's not game day, whether it's at night, going out to dinner because you're familiar. It's funny, you always talk about road trips and being in cities that you're not normally in and trying to see the tourist life there if you're a player. But I guess Ron Washington's theory is maybe they're too, home sweet home, they're taking a little bit too seriously. Of course, these are all just random theories that have nothing to do with baseball, but it doesn't really feel great when there's such a question, such an unknown, weird trend that a manager whose job is to figure it out, there's really nothing he can say other than, I wish I knew. And I'm not going to blame him for making that comment because I think everybody wishes they knew. It really doesn't make sense. I do want to get into a few other comments from Ron Washington. He talked about Zach Neto returning to the lineup. Thank goodness that elbow inflammation, that elbow soreness was nothing serious. He said, look, Zach Neto, he's really liking what he's doing on offense, but the key is his glove. And we know we saw a Kyron Paris mistake yesterday. Huge having Neto back. He also had a big game in this one. Offensively, did Zach Neto. He went 2-for-4. And I mean, that doesn't sound like the biggest game, but when your shortstop who's young, who's primarily in there for a glove, goes 2-for-4, that makes you feel good. Some other interesting comments. This one I should have brought up in the last segment. He said, we got to fix Rengifo on the bases because Rengifo keeps getting thrown out. He got picked off between second and third. He got thrown out at third trying to stretch a double into a triple when you're down 8 runs and being on third doesn't matter. Gosh, I don't want to get heated about that again. But Ron Washington said we got to fix Rengifo on the bases, and surely enough, Rengifo gets thrown out on the bases again tonight trying to stretch a single into a double. We already discussed that. A couple other things he said. He said Joe Adell will get 500 at-bats in 2024, and that's why we will see Joe Adell continue to break out. And one other thing he said, which is interesting, he said he keeps saying that he has a baby group here with these Angels, and he says, our baby group does not have experience winning and meeting expectations. Ironically enough, he did say the Guardians are pretty young too, but they've already gained experience meeting expectations because they're now 35-17. I already talked yesterday about the Angels or why the Guardians are a great blueprint of what the Angels could have been and could still be in 2024. They're not going to be, well over 500 like the Guardians are, but in terms of the way they play baseball, in terms of the way they balance young players with veterans, with superstars, and one of those superstars for the Angels that, gosh, we wish we had back, of course, is Mike Trout. He also had some comments I want to discuss because he was live on the Angels TV broadcast, and he was basically just saying, look, it's no secret, but he was emphasizing, look, there's so many young guys on this team that came through the minors so fast, and that hurts you in your development. He said it's no secret that these guys came through so fast. They're learning on the fly, but they're learning in majors starting. Zach Neto young. I'm not even going to list the young guys on this lineup or in this lineup, in this rotation, in the bullpen. So Trout just emphasizing that there. But one thing he did say, talking about Joe Adell, he said, it's in there. The talent is in there for Joe Adell to be a superstar. He's so strong. And he also said that he comes in really early before every game trying to get better. I've been satisfied with Joe Adell, of course, in 2024. I know he's only hitting 227 now after another 0-for-4 performance. Would have liked to see more from him, but it's no secret. He's way better against lefties, and at least he's showing consistency against one side. He'll get better as an all-around player. We know he's an athlete first and foremost. Couple comments here that I'm going to read. Shout out to everybody in here live. I think this is the largest live audience we have had, so shout out to everybody here. Crew Chief says, Tim Salmon mentioned on the pregame show that when you play on the road, you're locked into baseball only. You just go from the hotel to the field. But at home, you have so many more distractions. Exactly. That's what we were discussing a little bit. Shout out to you there, Crew Chief, for that comment. Because, yes, maybe that is the secret. Maybe it's young guys on the road, regardless of where you are, having unfamiliar. And that's the other thing. When you're a veteran, you know the places to go in every city. So if you've been in the league for 5 years and you've made so many road trips to New York, or you've made so many road trips to Houston, you're a veteran. Maybe that means you'll get more distracted because there's more places to go. But at the same time, you're a veteran and you know how to handle it. These young guys, they haven't been on these road trips very often, so they don't know all the hot spots in town. They don't know where to go. And so, yes, maybe, as crew chief said, I'll throw it back up there, maybe you just go from the hotel to the field. If you're a young guy and you haven't been in Texas very often, you haven't been in Florida very often, you haven't been in New York very often, maybe you just go from the hotel to the field, whereas at home, you're familiar. Whether you're a 21-year-old or a 40-year-old, at home, everybody knows the spots to go. Everybody knows that their family's home. Everybody knows what their friends are around, and maybe there are more distractions. So shout out to crew chief and shout out to Tim Salmon for saying that. Maybe there's just more distractions, and maybe that is part of the reason. Also, shout out to, I don't know how to say this, Sega Boy W. He says Perry needs to stop feeling bad for the vets and just let the kids play night after night. The trash pandas look amazing. Yes, that is true. But there's good and bad sides of letting the young guys play. We just talked about Mike Trout saying that these guys have come up through the minors so fast and they're learning in Major League Baseball. Of course, we're getting a reminder specifically with this homestand so far that the Angels aren't really competing for anything anytime soon. That is the sad truth. So, of course, when you're not competing, you want to see the young guys play, but that doesn't mean you want to rush them. I think the Angels have a good balance right now of young and old. Of course, if there was a Mike Trout in there, an Anthony Rendon to some degree, a Brandon Drury, maybe there would be more wins. And we all know that above else, if there was a real rotation and a more consistent bullpen, there would be more wins. But you want to be careful. I agree for the most part that now that you are now 20-32, and that even though the division stinks, you're pretty much out of the race already. I agree. Let the young guys play, but I think let the young guys that are already up in majors play. Don't start calling up guys and rushing their development. It's not worth it. Finally, King Yellowman says, damn embarrassing. And to some degree it is. Tonight, not as bad. You lose a tight one. Soriano, a converted guy, a young guy who's showing a lot of potential, has one rough inning against the superstar in Jose Ramirez. That probably shouldn't have even happened. Let me remind you, check swing should have been strike 3, and instead a 2-run home run a couple pitches later. So, yes, disappointing. I think the more embarrassing part is that multiple opportunities for the Angels offensively if they didn't run into outs once again. But shout out to everybody. I think this is the most comments we've gotten on a Locked On Angels Postcast. Once again, I'll run through them. Shout out to Daniel for being here. Once again, don't let this ruin your weekend. It's a long weekend. I know if you're a working person or if you're like me, a senior in college, it's nice to have Monday off. Don't let this team, dampen that. Shout out to Daniel, though. He's been here every time. Comments from Segas, I don't even know, talking about the bullpen, talking about Stefanik coming up. I agree. Those things would be nice. Once again, want to balance it, though. We saw crew chief talk about the bullpen, or not the bullpen, excuse me, the road versus home distractions and whether that's to explain for the 6-18 start at home. But I'm going to keep saying it until they turn it around at home. A home field disadvantage for the Los Angeles Angels. Shout out once again, talking about the vets and the kids. We want to balance that. Apologies that you don't get the holidays off, King. Well, you'll get a break from the Angels at least on Monday. So maybe that's a good thing. As much as we love watching our Angels, the way they're playing right now, the Angels do not play on Monday, so you get a break from that. And at least, hopefully, I assume, you get the weekends off. Maybe that's why you're here right now, and maybe that's why you'll be here, hopefully, tomorrow, because I will be back tomorrow, a day game. I think it's a 1 p.m. first pitch. The Angels trying to avoid a sweep before the Yankees come to town. I've got a last-minute comment here saying, good thing that you didn't go to the game. Yes, I mean, yesterday was way worse, of course. This game was close until the end. Even in the 9th inning, I didn't get to talk about. The 9th inning, Joe Adell has a really long at-bat, and, it looked like there was a chance there, but obviously not able to catch up. More comments coming in. Hey, they tell me that they want this to be around 30 minutes, but I don't think anybody's going to be mad if it's longer. And if you're going to keep commenting, I'm going to keep talking because I want to build this. I want this to be a community. There's this is something I'm not going to address it fully, but I understand that there's other Angels content creators, and I understand I'm entering in some degree a new space, a new community. Just going to say quick things about that real quick, just because I don't want to have to say it again. If you're an Angels podcaster, content creator in any realm, any degree, look, I'm not here to steal audiences or create any rivalries. I want everybody to thrive. We all want the Angels to win, and we all want to grow our communities. So I'm not here to create any competition, any rivalries, anything like that. I want this to be the place you come and hang out after the game. I'm going to bring my opinions, my stats, and I'm going to have fun. So shout out to Crew Chiefs there saying, appreciate you doing this show. I start my day with the Locked On Angels podcast, and now I end the day with the postcast. Exactly. That is the point. That is the point. Thank you so much for saying that. Shout out, it's a good time to say, shout out to the Locked On Angels daily podcast, the Frisch Bros, the Super Halo Bros, John and Mike. They're amazing. More comments coming in. But yes, of course, start every Monday through Friday with their podcast. And then whenever the Angels play, come right here live on the Locked On Angels Postcast, live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. More comments. The more, the merrier in terms of podcasts, as RT Calibre says. Exactly. And I'm not going to say anything more about it because I don't want it to be this big thing. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but I agree. The more podcasts, the better. Look, I'm a fan of so many sports teams, and if I'm the fan of a team, I want there to be as many podcasts as possible for me to hear about my favorite teams. And so that's the plan. That's what I'm trying to do. Shout out to anybody who makes content about the Angels. All love on my end. But shout out to everybody here. RT Calibre, this is not the first time I've seen you, so shout out to you. Sega Boy, back at it with another one. Oh, and thank you so much for that. He says, you've given great coverage so far. This is my second show, and I enjoy your postcast analysis. Hey, really, really appreciate that. Look, I know it's only postcast 4, but thank you so much that we're already growing this thing. Like I said, I was shocked when I looked at the numbers on the last postcast last night. Not only the people that were there live, it was pretty late, of course, but also the people that watched after. I think by the time this ends, we might be at over 700 views on that, which is amazing. Another 1,000 people listen to the audio on your podcast feed. So thank you so much. Once again, I'm going to throw that back up there because I really appreciate that. We're going to keep making this thing better. All right. It's just, it's postcast 4, and it's only going to get better from here. Hopefully the Angels get better from here. One more comment, Crew Chief saying you can never get enough Angels content. I agree. And I'm going to keep bringing it to you. I think that's all the comments now. Man, a lot in this one. Shout out to everybody that was here live. Really, 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 really appreciate it. Hopefully the Angels can start winning some games at home so that you can go to the ballpark and enjoy it, because you're not going to win every game, especially if you're the Los Angeles Angels in recent years, but at least win some games at home. I'd much rather this team be 6-18 on the road and 500 at home, so that the Angels fans that have gone through so much can at least enjoy things at home a little bit. It's really draining for the fan base to go to the game and continue watching losses. But with all that being said, shout out to everybody that was here. A really, really long postcast, but I don't mind it at all. I love talking Angels baseball. I love talking to you guys. Shout out once again to all the comments from everybody. Crew Chief, Sega Boy, RT Calibre. Maybe you can tell me how to pronounce that somehow in the comments because you keep coming back. Shout out to King Yellowman. I know you don't get your holiday off on Monday, but I hope you have a good weekend nonetheless. Crew Chief, I shouted you out already. Daniel Barry's been here. Sega Nick something. I'll learn how to say this name right there. Hopefully, if you keep coming back, I'll keep getting used to it. But shout out to everybody who came, made this a really fun postcast. The Angels fall 4-3. They fall to 20-32. They fall to 6-18 at home. Soriano, mixed outing. I'm going to say I'm proud of it nonetheless because of the resilience. Taylor Ward, 3-run shot, but that was all the Angels had. Maybe a little too aggressive on the bases. And one day, we will explain what's going on at home. This has been the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live from the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. If you missed it live, you're watching it after the fact, either on the channel or you're listening to it wherever you get your Locked On Angels podcasts. Shout out to everybody. Disappointing 4-3 loss. Hopefully the Halos can avoid the sweep tomorrow, and I'll be back here live right here to recap it all. This is Gavin Carlson signing off. Halo Nation, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good weekend. and see you tomorrow. So long.